Hey there folks, it's Blue here from Bluebears Games, and for today's video I will be showing you a deck that I call Fraying Sanity, which is the newest addition to my budget battle brew decks that I make and sell on the Bluebears Games Facebook page. Before we get started, let me get the usual prerequisite support my channel plugs out of the way first. That if you'd like to help support my channel, you can do so in the following ways. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, share any of my content on your socials so other people can discover it, and/or watch some of my many other videos yourself. In addition to that, if you're interested in ways that you can help support my channel monetarily, please read the description of this video, and there you will find a myriad of options for what you can do to help me keep this channel going. Anything that you can do to help is greatly appreciated, and I thank you for it. Now with that out of the way, let's begin. So as I said, this deck is called Fraying Sanity, which doesn't necessarily portray to you exactly what it does. It also doesn't tell you the story of how this deck came to be, which I will do first. This build is actually an amalgamation of a custom build and a budget battle brew that I already make named Silence I Mill You. I was messaged by someone looking for a couple of budget 60 card decks so they could teach their son how to play, but just didn't want to make them himself. Originally, they only wanted 2 decks to start, but when they learned that I have a bunch of different decks available, they actually wanted a couple more instead. One of them I didn't have in stock, which was the blue-green mill deck that I call Silence I Mill You, and he wanted to see if I could make it again, but change it to a mono-blue deck with the same general theme. So that's how this, a now mono-blue variation of the Silence I Mill You deck, came to be. There are some major differences between the 2 decks, but the core principles remain the same. Win by milling your opponent using some not-so-conventional ways. What exactly do I mean by that? Well, let me show you. I will start by showing you the main mill card of the deck. This is very similar to the Silence I Mill You deck that I make. It uses Doorkeeper. This is a different way to do mill. So Doorkeeper is a 2 to cast 0/4. It's basically a wall. It's not actually a wall, but it has Defender, so it can attack. And then it has this ability that for 1 blue and 2 generic mana, and then tapping it, you can mill target player for X, where X is equal to the number of creatures with Defender that you control, which is part of the defense of the deck, is the Defender creatures anyway. So this can actually, it starts off as 1 card because it'll be the only card in play, probably because it's the cheapest card in the deck. And then as you put more Defenders out, it will actually get bigger and bigger. So there are 16 total creatures in here that have Defender, so you can get a lot of cards milled really quickly. So I start off with a playset of those. I have a single Vantress Gargoyle in here as an alternate win con if you need to do damage for some reason. So it's a 2 to cast 5/4 flyer, with the caveat that it cannot attack unless the defending player has 7 or more cards in their graveyard, which in this deck shouldn't be an issue. But it also can't block unless you have 4 cards or more in your hand. The way that this deck is set up, it's got a lot of defensive counter magic, so you should always have at least 4 cards in your hand if need be. And then an added ability that you can tap it to mill each player. And then the defenders that I was telling you about, they all have flying because you want to be able to block both ground creatures and flying, and they mostly have big butts. This one's a little different. It's Gargomazoa. It's 3 cast for a 1/3 with Defender and flying. However, you prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to it, so it can block anything that you want and stop all the damage. Trample is a little different if it has more than 3 power and trample. So the extra will go over, but at least it'll block most things without having any damage to you. So I got 4 of them in there. And then Monastery Flock, it's a 3 to cast 0/5 Defender with flying. It can enter play as a 2/2 nothing creature for 3, and then you can flip it over if you want. So if you need to go that offensive route, you can actually use it as a 2/2, but I don't think you're going to do that very often. So I'm going to play a set of those. An OG actual Wall of Air. It's one of the oldest cards in the game because Wall of Air was in Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, Revised. It's a 3 to cast 1/5 Defender flying creature. It's actually a wall. It's got a big enough defense that it should stop just about anything you need. So play a set of those. The Silence I Mill You deck used fog effects as the defense, but Mono Blue doesn't have that. So I went with counter magic that could be used to stop the things that you can't block. So we start with Essence Scatter to counter a creature spell, and it only costs 2 to cast, so it'll be cheap enough that in the early game, if you don't have walls in your opening hand that can block the creatures that your opponent will cast, Essence Scatter will take care of that for you early or late game. Play a set of those. Negate for combo pieces. So not every deck is going to be a, turn dude sideways and go burr kind of deck. You're going to have combo, you're going to have mid-range, stuff like that. Negate is to stop big pieces that will be either combo pieces or really strategic pieces for your opponent's side. So I got a play set of those in there as well. The fun part of it was that I wanted to also be able to mill while countering people's spells, so Didn't Say Please fits that very well. There are two that do this. One of them costs 4. I didn't want that high of a mana value in the deck, so Didn't Say Please fits that role very well. It's 3 to cast, it counters any spell you want, and then it mills the person who controlled that spell 3 cards. So I got 4 of them in there. I need a little bit of card draw because that's what blue does. This is a budget deck. I'm not going to throw something in here that's like $30 just to draw cards, or same thing with the counter magic. There's no mana drains in here. You could put them in later if you want to upgrade the deck, but as far as this build, this was a $20 budget build. So divination works because it's giving you 2 cards. It's not opt. Opt would only give you 1. I was going to throw them in, and I realized I wanted more card draw than just 1. Divination is passable for that. I understand that there's another card out there called Quick Study now that's an instant version of this. I just don't have enough. I didn't even have 4 to put in here, and I didn't want to put one copy of something and then a lesser copy in, so we got 4 divinations in here for that. And that can be upgraded very easily, very cheaply. The other thing I wanted to do was prison enchantment for something that your guys can't block that got through. So this is for tramplers or things that just are devastating. You don't know what you're going to face out there. There are some really, really high power creatures out there now that cost little mana. You may not have had the opportunity to counter it, so now you can just put Claustrophobia on it, which will tap it and keep it tapped. The namesake of the deck was Fraying Sanity because thanks to Wilds of Eldraine, the Enchanting Tales section, they reprinted Fraying Sanity, which at one point in time was $10 or $12. Now it's budget enough that I can use in decks like this. This is a really, really good mill card. It's a 30-cast enchantment that you curse somebody. So you curse your opponent, because this is going to be a one-on-one format. And it says at the beginning of each end step, so that's key, not just yours, but both players if you're playing one-on-one. That player will mill X cards, where X is the number of cards that were put into their graveyard from anywhere this turn. That's key. The reason why that's key is because that also includes when somebody casts a spell, the card goes to the graveyard, that counts. So this actually does do a lot more work than you think. It's not just you have to mill cards for them to mill more cards with Fraying Sanity. They actually can hurt themselves. So that was really the reason why I named the deck after this and why this is the centerpiece of the deck. And I didn't have 4 of them, obviously, because, Enchanting Tales, you only get 1 per pack, and I only opened 1 box or 2 boxes. So as an upgrade option, this is a 4-up. Keep that in mind. And then, of course, millstones, because this is a mill deck, and I wanted more than just the Doorkeeper to mill as an activated ability. So I've got 2 of them in here to take that spot. So if you don't get to your Doorkeepers, but you do get to millstones, you can still start milling. And then the lands are actually just 20 basic islands. And the reason why I didn't have any non-basic lands in here is because I couldn't really find anything that fit the theme that I had enough of that really would make an impact. So it's just 20 islands, and it's all you need, really. And that, my friends, was my newest 60-card budget battle brew that I call Fraying Sanity. While the deck in this video is already sold, I'll be making another available on the Blue Bears Games Facebook page shortly, so if you'd like to get one for yourself, just message me and I'll start putting it together for you sooner. I know that mill decks irk some folks a lot, but I gotta tell you, this is one of the better budget battle brews that I've made. It has good defense against combat strategies with counter magic to stop combo and mid-range strategies, making this a solid budget choice. No, it's not tournament worthy because that's not what this deck is meant for, but for kitchen table fun, it's pretty solid. Well folks, that's all for this video, but please go browse my channel and take a look at some of my many other videos, as I know you'll find others that you'll like. Before you go, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so you can get notified of any new videos that I put out, which is usually every Friday. Have a great day, and I hope to see you real soon.